The sword I'm carrying is a form of backsword. That is a horseman's sword with a basket hilt grip. The blades for these weapons, which are traditionally between 2'6" and 3 feet in length, were often imported from either Italy or from Germany, bearing the armourers named Andrea Ferrara or sometimes the Running Wolf of Solingen in Germany. The hilts were manufactured locally, often of quite crude manufacture, as this one is a simple basket hilt, and this type of weapon was traditionally carried by Border Reivers. It is called a backsword because it's actually sharp along the front edge only, the back edge is blunted, and the weapon is intended for a downward slash from the horse. The two swords were quite light. I'm also wearing, by way of body protection, that which is called a breast and back. That is plate armour which covers the chest and the back. It has two sections, a back plate and the front plate. They are joined by clasps at the shoulder and which adjust to suit the height of the wearer, and also around the waist by a belt which secures the breast and back across the lower portion. This would be worn by a horseman when out reiving, and was often also worn with a form of protective headgear. The shirt which I'm wearing, this one is actually made of cotton, but many shirts are also made of linen. They tended to be cut fairly wide, again to allow for movement. This one has some lace at the cuffs, which would indicate slightly higher status from the wearer. I'm wearing stout woolen breeches. The Reivers always made their clothes from natural materials, and the wool was particularly warm and hard wearing. The breeches are cut fairly loose to provide for movement when coming in and out of the saddle, and also when fighting. The doublet which I'm wearing is also made of wool, a stout woolen worsted. It has what are called slashed sleeves, which are quite fashionable during the course of the 16th century, made fashionable by the Landsnetch mercenaries in the imperial service in the early part of that century. It is dark blue worsted, and again is cut fairly free to facilitate easy movement. I'm wearing a pair of 16th century horseman's boots, which are made of very stout leather and were a means of replacing plate armour as a form of leg protection. The boot pulls up to the top of the thigh to provide a protection against sword cuts and slashes from bills and other edged weapons. The Reivers by and large rode out on their forays, so protection for the legs was particularly important, and obviously the boots also protected the rider from chafing from the saddle and the horse's flank. The Reivers' clothing generally was made of strong, hard-wearing natural fabrics, such as wool. These breeches are made of wool. They're cut fairly loose-fitting to provide movement. And the doublet, which is also made in wool, is warm, close-fitting. It has what's called a slashed sleeve, which became popular during the course of the 16th century, and the shirt which I'm wearing underneath would traditionally be made of linen. The Border Reiver didn't have pockets in his outfit, so he tended to rely on what was called a purse or a shot pouch, which was generally carried suspended from a belt around the waist, and in this he might carry a few coins if he had them. He might also carry shot, powder and shot for his firearm if he had a firearm with him.
I'm a Border Reiver foot soldier known as a footlown. These are a basic pair of clogs, very, very common. Wear them on the battlefield. They've got solid wooden soles, solid toes, and on the battlefield they're very, very good for kicking people. I'm wearing a pair of socks here. They're made from wool, keep your legs warm. Same with the breeches here, made from wool. They've got a button fly for obvious reasons. Down below I'm wearing a pair of woolen socks, very, very common. You can keep your legs warm in the winter and cool in the summer because you can pull them down. I'm wearing a pair of woolen breeches, again to keep yourself warm during the winter. They've also got a button fly on the front.
Buttons were either made of wood or bone and were quite expensive. Sometimes things were laced.
On my right arm here, I'm wearing what is called as a bridle arm. It's normally worn by a horseman, but of course in a battle you can pick up anything you want off a dead guy, so that's why I'm wearing it. It's made of a series of plates, stitched on to a leather glove. It offers protection for the full arm, for the hand when you're holding the sword, and is also good for hitting people. Around my neck I'm wearing what is called a gorget. This would also have been stolen from a horseman. Basically this offers protection to part of the shoulders. Any blows coming in at diagonal angles to the neck can be deflected. Around my neck I'm wearing what is called a gorget. It is made of steel. It's lined underneath with leather, decorated with leather. The leather going around your neck to stop the metal chafing against it. It's made of two separate pieces. The rivets are on the neck, rivet into the plate here. The rivets at the bottom are for decoration as well. It can be worn on its own, or with a full suit of armour or back and breastplate. The main purpose is to stop and deflect any blows coming in from the right or the left. On my head, I'm wearing a very basic bonnet. It's a stiffened leather rim covered with cloth, and the same on the top. Decorate it with a little tassel, just to make it look nice. And in fact, in these days, the hat would have been essential equipment, as it was considered very impolite not to be wearing one. Here, I have a shield, which is called a targe. It's attached to the belt by a piece of leather. This means I don't have to carry the shield while I'm walking, or it could be slung over the back. The front of the shield is covered in toughened leather and brass nails. The brass nails offering protection and decoration. It's hard to take the blows and offers good protection. On the back we have a strap there. That would sit where your forearm is, your hand would go through there, and the sheepskin padding to take the impact out of the blows. This here is a very, very basic German backsword. There's a pommel to counterweight the weight of the blade, a guard to protect your knuckles. Also, you can use it for punching. And here we have two quillins that enable you to trap an opponent's sword with the possibility of snapping it. This here is a very basic German backsword. This here is the pommel. It counterweights the blade to make the sword easier to handle. This here is the knuckle bow. That protects your knuckles during the fight. It can also be used for punching opponents with. Again here, a ring on the side protects the top of the hand. And the two quillins here, if you're lucky, can be used to trap an opponent's sword and snap it.
I am a border hideman. It's my duty to help the warden in his daily duties and make sure that the lands are run smoothly. On my legs, I am protected by stout riding boots of heavy leather. This affords me some protection when riding, especially through thickets or thorn bushes, and also protects me from sword blows. I'm also wearing trews. These are very fine trews, as only a man of my stature would be able to afford. They are lined in silk and made of wool on the outer. A very prominent part of my trews is my codpiece, with which I will impress the ladies. Here I am wearing trews, particularly fine trews, made of wool on the outside and fine silk on the inside, as befits a man of my stature. Also befitting a man of my stature is my fine codpiece, which will obviously impress the ladies. In order to protect my body, I am wearing a jack. This is a jack of plate, made of stout leather on the outside and leather on the inside. Between the two pieces of leather are bone or metal plates, which afford some protection against sword blows. Between those are padded pieces, which also help protect me from hefty blows. I'm armed with a rapier of the Saxony style. Behind my back, you'll note a dagger, which I can use in conjunction with my sword. In my hand, I have a rapier. This is a Saxony hilted rapier, which has been imported from Germany. Only someone of finery and with plenty of money could afford such an item. The blade is 32 inches long and affords me a good thrusting weapon against the enemy. Here we have the hilt of the sword, the pommel which acts as a counterweight to the blade. The hilt, although looking very fine, has a purpose in that it must protect my hand from the opponent's sword blows. You will also note that there are various hooked parts to the hilt, and these can be used to disarm your opponent or hopefully snap his blade. Here we have a parrying dagger. Again, a pommel at the base of the handle helps to balance the blade. We have a metal cup protecting the fingers, and we have some shaped quillins. These are designed to trap an opponent's blade and again snap the blade. This type of weapon would be held with the thumb up against the back of the blade, and the flat of the blade would be used to stop your opponent's weapon. It could also be used in an offensive style in order to injure or kill your opponent. This is an arming cap. It is made of linen and is padded with sheep's wool. The purpose of this cap is to help protect your head when you've got a heavy metal helmet on it. And it's worn thus and fastened under the chin for protection. Ready? This is a burgonet. It's a type of helmet worn for protection for the head. It has a large crest over the top which makes it very strong, and it can withstand some heavy blows from weaponry. There are hinged cheek flaps which make it easier to put the helmet on and off, and inside the helmet there are leather straps which help to secure it to your head and make it more comfortable. This helmet is very heavy, and in order to make it somewhat lighter, I've forfeited the usual front part of the helmet, which is known as a beaver. This would cover the rest of my face and obviously affords some more protection. As you can see, the burgonet encloses my head virtually completely. This causes problems for me as I cannot hear what is going on around me. This is due to there not being anywhere the sound can get through to my ears. In battle, this can cause problems as I cannot hear commands or find out what's happening around me. The helmet is also very heavy and also gets extremely hot in sunny days. As you can see from the flag behind me and the flag I wear on my arm, I'm fighting for Scotland today. However, should the battle turn against us, perhaps it might be wise for me to change sides. In order to do this, I have a double-sided armband with the cross of St. George, which I can flip over easily and fool the enemy into thinking I'm one of their own. This also enables me to sneak up on the enemy's leaders, hopefully allowing me to capture them and hold them to ransom, which was a common thing to do in this day and age.
I am the Highland's factor, that's his clerk. Subsequently, I wouldn't have had to do a great deal of fighting. Being the clerk, I was very well paid. This meant I could afford such finery to wear. The jacket being from the Spanish cut. The fact also that I don't fight a great deal explains why I can afford to have longer hair. Longer hair is obviously a hindrance in battle. The enemy can grab hold of the hair and pull you down. On my belt, you may notice I'm carrying a leather tankard. People of the times will drink a lot of beer. During the day we drink a milder beer, a day beer, which is just strong enough to kill the bacteria. On an evening we drink the stronger beer, the intention being, as today, to get drunk. Edward I's army invaded Scotland and they actually fell back because the troops refused to fight on after the beer supplies ran out. The reason we all drunk beer was because water containing bacteria, the germ, was never guaranteed to be clean and could poison the people. Everyone drank beer or alternatively wine, occasionally spirits, especially in Scotland. But down in England, virtually no one would drink the water. Everyone would have carried a tankard. The shoes I'm wearing are just a standard leather shoe. If you can notice, there is no left and right. At the time, it would have been far easier if one shoe was damaged, just to replace one shoe.
I'm a poor hill farmer. I work very hard on my farm, and I own cattle and a few sheep. The Border Reivers are people that I hate. They come in the dead of night, they steal my cattle. I work very hard to keep my cattle and sheep, and they thieve from me. I fear moonless nights, for that is when the Reivers come and steal my property and my cattle.
I am a herdsman's wife. As you can see by the quality of my clothing, these are my daughters, but this is my kitchen scullion.
Nobody likes me, everyone bullies me.
As you can see from the quality of our clothes, we are fairly wealthy and we live under the umbrella of the warden. This poor little soul, no one knows where she came from, but we've given her a home and she lives and sleeps in our kitchen. I'm a hidesman's wife, as you can see from the quality of my clothing. These are my daughters. Unfortunately, this is the kitchen scullion. She was found, no parents, but we've given her a home and she sleeps and lives in the kitchen.
Everyone bullies me. I have to get up every morning, earlier than everyone else, and put the fires on.
These are my daughters. This young lady is 13. As you can see from the quality of her clothing, we are looking for a very wealthy husband for her. This one here is a year younger. Well, she's wearing linen instead of wool, and next year we will be looking for a wealthy husband for her. This is my oldest daughter. She's recently been bereaved. The Reivers killed her husband, so she's come home. These are latch shoes. The upper is made from leather, but the sole is made from cork. Once again, you'll find that we didn't have left and right feet. Underneath, we have some fine wool stockings. These are latch shoes. The upper is made of leather, and the sole is made of cork. On her legs, she has very fine wool stockings. Under the outer layer of clothing called the bodice, we have what is known as a shift. It's either made of cotton or linen. The bodice has detachable sleeves. They're laced in. They're made detachable for the sole reason of heat in the summer. Now, when women are working, they have a half sleeve that they wear to cover the sleeves up. This bodice is laced together. It's heavily boned up here. It could have been done with wood. We did have buttons, but they were very, very expensive, and sometimes they needed to be covered in cloth. Underneath here, we have what is known as the underdress, and that is because the skirt is split. Underneath the outer outfit, we have an underdress. The wealthy people used to embroider these, and sometimes they had very expensive stones on them, gemstones. I might add that ladies wore no underwear.